There once was a ship put to the skies. The name of the ship was the Enterprise. Her nacelles lit, her phasers armed, oh blow, you red shirts blow. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Been not 2 weeks from Sector 1 when we were sacked by Romulans. Red alert was called when Captain said torpedoes make it so. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Before our foe had reached the hull, the shields were raised and power at full. Screen went dark, the Romulans gone when they engaged their cloak. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Star Trek Wars Roundtable Movies Edition, and this time we're talking about Star Trek Insurrection. I'm Senior Council Member James King, and joining me are Lainey.
Hi.
Alex.
Hi.
Dusty.
Hello everybody.
And Joe.
I was thinking of singing, but I just can't be bothered today. I'm sorry.
Well, if you want to have a sing-song at the end, we can do. But I think Jeremy and Connor have done that definitively.
And I think I'll be completely honest. I don't actually know the song. The only Gilbert song I know really well is Pirates of Penzance. I saw it live at the cinema once.
Yeah, my cousin was in Pirates of Penzance when he was at college, and we all had to go and watch it, and yeah, it wasn't great, I'll be honest.
It's got a lot of the most famous songs, like Policeman's Not a Happy One.
Yeah.
And the one where the pirates are all singing about how quiet they're going to be while singing extremely loudly.
I think that's the one that I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
But Gilbert and Sullivan, yes, the Star Trek film with the Gilbert and Sullivan, interesting.
But not Gilbert O'Sullivan, because there's no All Alone Naturally in this song.
No, very true. Good one. Origin stories with this one. I have what I thought was an interesting one. It might not be, but this came out New Year's Day in the UK. So I'd been out to a New Year's Eve party, and it was one of them where it went a bit crazy. We started off at one person's house, and then we ended up at someone else's house, and people had had arguments and fallen out, and someone had got back together, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I've never had a party like that, I have to admit. It sounds like an experience.
It was. I mean, I don't remember it perfectly with it being a New Year's party, but the point was, I woke up on my mate's sofa New Year's Day, and I was like, Star Trek's out, I'm going to see Star Trek, I'm going to see it on opening day because it's going to be a classic, even though I'd read mixed reviews. But I forgot about the fact that New Year's Day is a bank holiday, so the buses are very limited, and so we didn't have any local cinemas, so I had this thing of how am I going to get into town to see this film, and we ended up getting the train and then walking to the cinema, and it basically cost a fortune, and we were all hungover, and then we saw this, and probably not worth it.
Effort to go for Insurrection.
Yeah, I should have probably waited a couple of days till I'd sobered up, and also the buses were running normally, so I didn't drive at the time. Not that I would have been in any fit state to do so.
Have it tarnished your memories?
Maybe. So, Lainey, what about you then? How did you first? Did you do something crazy to see this one?
I have literally no idea when I first saw this. I'm the worst for remembering this sort of thing. I do not remember. And I think maybe the mid to late 90s are a bit of a blank for me in general. So, yeah, I have no idea. TV or DVD?
Is it just that you were a party fiend back in the day, Lainey, or was it just not?
No, was this 98? I was only 15, and I was not.
I was 8.
Party fiend, 15-year-old.
So, Joe, when did 8-year-old Joe first see it?
Here's the thing. I'm going to be like Lainey and say I can't remember either. So I'm going to have to give you a substitute story, which is that something that you've just made me think of, Jim. I went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago, or so about 3 weeks ago, and it was lovely. They'd already been married. They'd already were married, but because of the pandemic, they couldn't bring anyone.
So it was like
So, it was like a sort of a thingy. But this isn't the story. The point is I was invited to the stag do.
And you went to see Star Trek Insurrection.
This is where the thing. So everything went really wonderful about the night, except we were on our way to the karaoke place, and 3 of the people decided they wanted a beer on the place on the way. So anyway, when they eventually catch up, there's only 2 of them instead of the 3. And it turned out that for some reason, one of them just sort of went kind of mad and like sort of got all aggro with the other 2 and was starting to like start a fight with them. And eventually they sort of had to like flee. I just like, that's just, unfortunately my party stories aren't very good.
No, that sounds like a decent stag do. It sounds par for the course, to be perfectly honest.
I mean, except that the groom, he because he was like obviously drunk off his ass, kept doing this really high pitched metal scream, and my brain was just like melting by the end of it. But it was still a good night.
Did you watch
the best singer because I wasn't drunk.
Did you then watch Insurrection?
I don't know. I think that might have curbed my enjoyment of the evening.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Insurrection, it's not a stag do film. I will put it out there. You can put that on the posters.
It's not a film for anyone. It's
not a Star Trek film.
I'm giving away my opinions early. Sorry.
Yeah. Alex, do you remember the first time you saw this one?
Not really. It was just along the line of, Star Trek films that I watched. Like, I watched a few because, you have to watch them. And then the rest is just sort of like, Star Trek, you just see each movie at least once to say that you've seen all of them. But I'd like to make the comment that I actually liked it when I watched it.
There we go. You see, people are...
I just find it funny. It's like, with Star Trek Wars, the Star Trek Wars Council, we're all having fun. We're all big Star Trek fan, and then someone just says about watching the films just because you've got to. I'm just like, I'm not sorry.
Yeah,
I apologise, Alex. I'm not being mean. It was funny.
It's kind of that thing.
If you say you haven't watched First Contact, then that's not cool, bro. You gotta watch it. Like some of them, you just have to watch because you gotta watch them.
I'm with her on this. There's a couple of Star Trek stuff that you have to watch because it's part of Star Trek. Star Trek 5, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean,
that's just hard to get through, and it's just total cringe through most of it. But it's Star Trek, so you have to watch it.
Yeah, and
I don't. I think we didn't give it the worst rating ever when we did it. I mean, it wasn't a very brilliant rating.
I mean, it's not
Star Trek 1. Things, but we had some nice things to say about it at least, which is more than some people could say for Star Trek 5.
Yeah,
true.
So, Dusty, what about you? Do you remember seeing Insurrection for the first time?
I saw it on opening day, December 11th, 1998. I was 18 years old. Loved Star Trek. I was very much the quintessential nerd in high school that watched all of sci-fi stuff. Went to the theater opening day and got my tickets thinking that, this is going to sell out and whatnot. I was only one in the theater that day.
No, literally oh no.
I watched the movie with my best friend, my dad, and my grandfather. We were the only ones in the movie theater, and I gotta say that's the best way to watch a movie.
Yeah,
I agree. Actually.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's a great.
There's something about having your own, being the only person that's in the
in the main
people in the cinema.
Yeah, it's like I've just booked to go see.
Whatnot, and boo, hiss, clap, all that, and nobody complained.
Yeah, I've just
you can
booked
have snacks that are really, really loud as well.
Oh no, that's illegal.
Talk to each other, and nobody goes, "Hey, shh."
I've just booked for the new Bond film, and it's it seems to be the one that seems to be getting everyone back to the cinema, at least in the UK. and I'm just like trying to book a ticket where it's not full. So I was going to go Friday night, but they were all full, and then so we're going Sunday night anyway because it's been that crazy. And it's like I miss when no one was going to the cinema. It was great. You had the whole thing to yourself. But anyway,
yep.
At least the cinema industry is not going to die, and we might get another such film as Star Trek Insurrection. So there we go. So let's jump into the pros then. Who wants to start us off with pros? Whoa, steady on, everyone. Calm down. I know you all wanna jump in there, but I've got mine. Then I won't take too long. But some of the invisible stuff at the start I thought was pretty cool. Like there's a bit where they knock someone into the lake and you just see the splash in the water, which I thought was a really cool effect. And it's been done better, like in that new Invisible Man film, but, you know, that's like, 20 years later, and the effects haven't come on that much, so I thought that was really good. Well done by Frakes, staging that bit. I thought that the comedic sort of introduction to the crew, like where you get Picard's doing this diplomatic mission, and I thought that worked so much better than the pirate ship thing in Generations, like going for the same sort of tone, but I think they actually pulled it off here. And I know Jordan wasn't a fan of this, but I actually like the way they just sort of wave over Worf being there, because it's almost like drawing attention to it and going, look, we know that you know that we've got to have a reason for him being there. Let's just quickly deal with it and we can crack on with film rather than having a big elaborate reason. And I thought it was very tongue-in-cheek the way they did it. So, I'm fine with it. I love the fact that they've got F. Murray Abraham to play the main villain, but, we'll get onto the cons later, but the casting is great. Great actor. Also, need to call this out at the time, when Jordan was doing the fun facts, he referred to an actor called Brian Blessed. His name's Brian Blessed. Mm-hmm. And as an English person, I'm offended that people don't know Brian Blessed's name, because he is a national treasure. And what else? I thought first there were some nice hints where this idea of him getting younger sort of thing, like you've got Picard, I can hear the unalignment of the blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was quite cool, how it was built up quite subtly. And I like Riker and Troy being all flirty with each other. I think they have got a really nice chemistry with each other. I like the bouncing ball on the karaoke. I'm not the biggest fan of the karaoke, but just the bouncing ball is great, because it reminds you of those Disney videos you used to get where they'd have the Mickey ears and bounce on the words and everything. So I enjoyed that, and I love the bit where Worf just shakes his head like he's having none of it. When they get to the planet, I think the early scenes, it does play out like quite a compelling mystery, why are they watching him and what's happened to Data, and why is it his ethics program that's caused him to do this? And I like all that stuff. Again, we'll get onto some of the resolution of it. My favourite thing in the whole film is the gorch, just because it's a funny word, and I started using it. My wife got a spot once, and she was like, "Oh, can you see it? What is it?" I said, "It's a gorch," and she was like, "What the hell's a gorch?" She was really worried, and then I had to explain. I was like, "No, a gorch is a made up word that the Klingons." And now it's caught on, and she uses it. So if she gets anything, she's like, "I've got another gorch." I thought the stuff with Picard and Anij was pretty good generally. It's not bad.
It's quick, but it's again they've got good chemistry. But it is sped along.
It is, quickly. Yeah. And nice Geordie getting his eyes, and Lavaba and getting to show off his eyes. I like that the Admiral had a belt like his belt buckle. Presumably, he's like the Intercontinental Champion or something. I enjoyed that. The dilemma, I suppose, is a pretty solid dilemma. But yeah, I suppose this is neutral zones. But are the Baku being a little bit selfish? Like, couldn't we share? And then I think it's a decent twist that they come from the same species. But earlier on in the film, when they first start looking at reports, Riker and Troy go, oh, look, there's this species that have got a common ancestor. And I did see this with a friend who didn't realise they were talking about a different species. So he was like, well, they told you right at the start. And I'm like, yeah, if you weren't paying attention, you could think that. So in a way, they're kind of either foreshadowing the twist or giving it away really right at the start by drawing our attention to this idea of a species with a thing. And I apologise that some of my pros tipped over into neutral zones there, but that's going to happen with a film like this.
I was going to say, I think it's reflective of the film.
And
it is all quite middle ground, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my pros. So, Lainey, have you finished your cake? Are you ready to go?
I finished my Jaffa cake and I'm ready.
Go for it.
Right. The dress uniform. Hurrah, they have a decent dress uniform. Like that.
For women and they look good on both. The previous ones just looked like dresses all around.
Yeah, it was not good. But I like the white.
Yes.
All the banter and all of the humour. I think that's what draws me back to watching this film again and again, is how the cast or the crew, they interact with each other and the jokes. All the jokes still make me laugh. I don't like, maybe that says something about my humour, but I find it funny. Yes, that one, Dusty. Very visual. Smooth as an android's bottom. I like that this alien race they're meeting has a matriarch, and that just that whole thing where he's got to have the thing on his head and say the funny word, which I was going to attempt to say, but I'm not going to.
Yuchim Chefor.
That's the one. Troy and Crusher are actually used in this film, and actually used doing their jobs. There's points where Troy's observing the behaviours, and Bev's like, "Oh, these guys should go into quarantine before they go back to work," and then they do actually get lines and have purpose throughout, which is nice. I like that. I like that the Prime Directive is challenged by the Baku, sort of like, well, your non-interference doesn't stretch to spying on people, and it's interesting because it's like, yeah, you would want to study other cultures, I get that, but also it's quite intrusive, isn't it? Is there any need for that? I think the changes are really subtle. I mean, they start from the second they enter the briar patch. And just the playfulness between Riker and Troy, and the Worf getting up late, and it's just very. Oh, and George's headaches start really early on as well. But until you know that that's a thing, like you don't make the connection. So it does drip feed in. So I like that. And then like the neckline being a trigger, which goes back to the very first scene, which is him saying, "Oh, my neck's the same size as it was in the academy." And he's like, "Oh, actually, it's not." So yeah, I think there are a lot of things that are nicely linked up throughout. Dougherty out is one of my favourite things. Referring to the forced relocation of a small group of people, and how petroleum turned petty thugs into world leaders. Like those things. The petroleum thing particularly topical at the moment.
Oh, it is for the UK, yeah. Have you heard people are going round like drilling holes in people's petrol tanks on people's drives and siphoning it off? It's like, calm down, lads.
I've seen the videos of people filling up plastic bags, plastic bags which have holes in them.
Oh yeah. No, people are going to blow up the houses, like they're stockpiling petrol, and then gas prices are going up, so they're going to start stockpiling pressurized gas things. And honestly, so when you guys in the States are reading that houses are exploding in the UK, that's why.
It's just because we're morons. Actually, it's natural selection, because it'll be the people that, we could probably do without.
Hot take.
That's everything that's firmly in my pros.
Oh, right, okay. Alex, have you got any?
The music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like the music.
Great music. The music is awesome. The Baku Village theme, that's my alarm clock in the afternoons. Not in the mornings. In the mornings, I wake up to the red alert sound. 'Cause I need to wake up. But in the afternoons, when I take a nap, I just set the Baku Village theme. Nice peaceful wake up. It's an awesome song. I think you guys covered most of the pros, though.
Dusty, have you got any extra ones?
I do actually have several. Thank you, Alex, for bringing up the music. I was going to bring that up. That I love the music in this one. The composer just does such a great job in his notes and themes. Like when Worf is there and he shows up, you can hear the Klingon theme in the background. And every time he's experiencing extreme tendencies, you can hear the Klingon theme, and it's a lot of fun, as well as Picard's theme and the Baku theme. Very, very fun in the musical aspect of this movie. I really enjoyed the CGI of the ships, the Briar Patch. I thought it was all very, very well done. Still holds up to today. I was just watching it on 4K on my 4K TV, and it's just absolutely gorgeous, which is surprising for a movie that was done in 1998.
Yeah.
That usually stuff like that does not hold up that well, and this does. So that was a pleasant surprise. I will say most of the stuff that happens on the planet is quite dull. Well, I almost found myself skipping to everything that happens in outer space, because everything that happens on the planet just really. I wouldn't use the word peaceful. I would say dull, but I did really enjoy the interaction of the crew. I've always enjoyed that. They've always had a very good camaraderie. And again, harkening back to what you said about Troy and Riker, their chemistry with Franks and I'm spacing on what her name is right now.
Marina Sirtis.
Thank you. They've always had a great chemistry, and that just shows so well in this movie that it's very believable, and it's slowly done and done in ways that are very believable when she goes and plays with his neck and stuff like that. And I still cringes to this day. Yuck! I've never weird. That's not true. She has many times.
Also, she's kissed his identical clone who had a beard, so kind of the same.
Yeah, exactly. So, not exactly. I get it. They were playing up for that scene, but not canon. Anyways, but I really enjoyed the ending of it. There was that nice twist of, they're the same race. That was a nice bit of writing. But other than that, everything.
Do we deliberately have Amazing Grace playing in the background for Dusty?
I don't know.
My alarm. That's my grandfather clock, actually.
Ah, right. Yeah, and it's just gone. Yeah. And it's a Spock's funeral reference.
Yeah.
So, Joe, do you have any pros?
Okay, so I think that Patrick Stewart and what's the guy that plays Data again? Brent Spiner.
Brent
Yeah,
Spiner.
I thought that they had a pretty good. I thought they've got nice voices. I thought that they sang the thing pretty well. I like the fact that this is the kind of the darkest that the film's ever really got in regards to the Next Generation films. I'd say darkest. What I mean is it's the darkest the Federation ever got. Like in the previous one, I feel that that's the one with the biggest stakes because it's the Borg and they're evil and they're about to take over the world and use time travel to basically mess everything up. But this is the closest the film's ever got, or at least again, closest the Next Gen films got to having the Federation be wrong. In fact, they are definitely wrong in this one, and it almost feels like maybe there was a little bit of DS9 rubbing off on it there. Although
they do say, it's about needing more allies because the allies have been depleted and needing resources because our resources are depleted, and like it does link in with DS9, so maybe it's leaking into the Next Generation, like we're all happy and lovely.
I did like the fact that they did mention the Dominion, the Klingons, the Cardassians, and it said every major power except for the Romulans. Romulans weren't mentioned yet.
Yeah, that's for the next movie.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, maybe. Are we going to give them that much credit for foreshadowing for the next movie? Go on, we will. Sorry, Joe, carry on. Or is that it?
I think that I give credit to the location people for finding good locations on the planet. I think that if you're going for that sort of bucolic thing, it fits pretty well.
Awesome.
But those are my pros.
Right. Do you want to go straight into your neutral zones then, Joe, or is it just cons for you after this?
I think I can rustle up a neutral zone or two. I think that the Baku's makeup is pretty good, but it also almost detracts from the story because you basically, and we'll get into this later when we get to like the whole message that the film seems to be portraying, but like it's a bit iffy. Oh look, he's the bad guys. Oh wait, they're ugly. Oh, I mean, I get that it gives them a good impetus for what they do, and I think that the makeup itself is good. It is pretty gross, but yeah, the optics. I mean, the optics get worse if you really look into it, but certainly it sort of means that I'm a bit iffy on the way the Baku look. I think for me, the humor a lot of the time doesn't work, but quite a lot of the time it's more neutral zone in that I think the film, it would have worked if it'd been scripted a bit tighter, or sometimes they take a joke that isn't very good, and because the characters and the crew know each other, they kind of make it, I wouldn't always say work, but it sort of, it's like deflects the badness of some of the jokes. Like you just think, oh, okay, yeah, I can see the bantering. It's all nice. I mean, like, I'm not massively fond of Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden talking about their boobs, but they again, I could at least believe that would be something that Troy and
Crusher
would talk about. Sorry, apologies, my brain's not fully firing on names today.
It's all that Strictly you've been watching. It's like
is it all that Strictly? It's not that much Strictly.
Well, it's not so much that's the Gates and Gates McFadden and Marina Sirtis are. Sorry, I'm not sure what that noise is. Can you please get that? Sorry. It's not the fact that they're joking. It's the fact that it's retold again for Data and Worf. That did not play well for me. And it was all cringe. Yeah.
Yeah, I had my neutral zones would be like some of the humour, and I think part of it is that it assumes a level of familiarity with these characters that I don't think a casual cinema audience would have. Whereas when you're doing it in the original series, those characters have permeated popular culture to the extent that I think you can get away with it. But I think if you were coming to this and you were not someone who'd seen a lot of these characters and followed a lot of the show, some of it would fall a bit flat. Like the HMS Pinafore singing scene, I feel like if you're not a TNG fan, you are going to find that really cringeworthy. And things like Data acting as a flotation device, there's even a pause for the laugh, which, you know, might be okay if you're in a packed cinema and everybody laughs, but when you watch it at home, you're like, oh, he's actually put a pause in there for a laugh that is not happening, Frakes, sorry. And yeah, just things like that for me are neutral, but the rest of my stuff I'll save for the cons. Lainey, have you got any neutral zones?
British Tile was in my neutral zone. I think it's clever that Picard thinks to use that, but I've always found it a bit awkward. Don't know why. Maybe it's just because I don't like musical theatre. Strike me down.
I will.
I've got Geordie's eyes in the neutral zone. Something about it doesn't sit comfortably with me that they would be like, oh, look, Geordie, you're normal now. And it's like, he was fine. He was fine just the way he was. Also, he's born blind, with my understanding.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing.
He wouldn't just adjust. He wouldn't just be like, oh, I can see. Like, the way he's seen his whole life is how he sees. That's normal for him, and you know, he functions without disability. And then it's all like, oh, your eyes, and I've got to see a sunrise. It's just, but why? I just think it's a bit, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought wouldn't it be like sensory overload for him all of a sudden seeing everything in a totally different way? I know you'd lose the cute moment, but
well, this is not the first time he's seen with his eyes normally.
That's true, actually, yeah.
I mean, it didn't make any sense then, did it?
When did that happen?
Q did it, didn't it? Or Riker, when Riker was Q.
Okay, that's not so bad.
That was Q magic. Like, he could have overcome all the problems that would have actually medically been there.
I'm just saying it's not the first time he's seen with normal eyes.
It's true, yeah.
So this would be a complete and total shock to him. It just would be a difference. And it's my understanding that his eyes were replaced with cybernetics, not just the fact that they were like contacts.
Yeah.
So, where did those eyes
yeah, exactly. Did he have to have his actual eyes removed to put in the cybernetic
Well, it
eyes?
does say, like, his eyes are regenerating or something, doesn't it? So maybe that is. Maybe we missed the scene where he's, like...
popping them out.
Yeah, it just pops out. It's like, goes full-on body horror, like The Fly or something, and, you know...
They would have it in Picard.
We need hashtag release the Frakes cut of Insurrection with all the body horror and stuff. And
release the Frakes. Oh, I have more. It's more of a question. Do we establish how the sonar is so technologically advanced?
They just are.
Yeah, but I guess the Baku were advanced, so maybe they had someone within them that knew all the science when they left, maybe, but
they all did. When they left, they all knew, and they didn't forget it, because obviously they tried to fix data, and they knew what a positronic brain was, they knew what warp drive is, they knew how it operated. It's just that they don't apply it to their lifestyle.
Oh yeah, the Baku, but the sonar just seems so...
Well, that...
Like, they've got ships that could catch up with the Enterprise who left at warp like half hour ago.
But that's probably all the sonar were probably that far advanced, and like the Sorry, the Baku. So probably when the Sona guys left, they were like, hey, should we go get all that cool stuff that they've not let us play with for years? And look at all this stuff. Let's have some of that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
And I've got the Riker maneuver in my neutral zone.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very clever what he does.
It does.
Oh, dear. That's it. I'm done. Neutrals? Anyone else?
Alex, have you got neutrals?
We didn't need to see them keep restretching their skin and going back to that. It's just, very neutral zone for me. One time. All right. Everything else, I completely agree with most everybody else with.
Right then. So, the moment has come, Joe. Give us your cons.
Why do you have to pick on me?
Because you've been bigging up these cons. We're all waiting.
Because we all cons.
Okay. So I suppose the big thing is the fact that we essentially have what is a ruralist society of white people essentially get saved by a certain section of the Federation. But if you know your Star Trek, you'll know that there was a time when there was some I don't know, some North American Native American people that were living on a planet somewhere in the neutral zone, and then the Cardassians came and tried to force them out. And what did the Federation do? Anyway, that would be a small wrinkle or a bit of a frustrating point. Except then you realise that Brannon, the guy, allegedly, it just, I don't know, everything about it just seems to wind me up because the Baku are really boring. This is not a perfect life. Okay, maybe for some people it would be, but for me, and I'm not against the countryside. I like perhaps, and I had to be a farmer, I'd get on with it. At least I'd look after the animals and stuff, and I like animals, but there's something so fake about the Baku society. But you see, I get that, and I think that if it had been done competently, it wouldn't have been as much of a problem, but it wasn't. It's like all these different elements that by themselves wouldn't be a problem. But then when you put them all together, the good guys are, technical, like white Luddites. There was that episode before where, for whatever reason, Picard's basically going and not saving us. I don't know if I'm making my case brilliantly. I'm going to shout out here to another person, Chuck Sonnenberg, who's you might know online as SF.
It's been a long episode, right? It's not just that. I have gone through this and I have broken down exactly which episodes it's ripping off at what point.
Oh.
So, here we go. Start off. We're observing a planet from a cloaked base. That's from the episode Who Watches the Watchers. Data going off the rails. That's like every third episode of TNG. Picard having to greet a weird culture with silly words. That's from The Big Goodbye. The Briar Patch is just the Badlands from DS9. A secret holodeck is from the episode Homeward. Az is using it to evacuate a village by making them think that they're still in the village. An evil admiral attacking Federation ships is from Homefront Paradise Lost, the DS9 two-parter. Tricking a ship into blowing up gas in a nebula is from the DS9 episode Vortex, so it should be called the Odo Maneuver, not the Riker Maneuver. And tricking someone into thinking they're on a holodeck when they're not is from Ship in a Bottle. So there you go. It's not just an elongated episode. It's very specific episodes that they've stuck. How many people does it take, Admiral? Which is clearly meant to be the line must be drawn here. But it's nowhere near as good. And it feels truncated. It just clips off. And it's, I get what you were going for. I'm up for the Fountain of Youth idea, but I'm less keen on this whole slowing time down boogie-woogie powers that comes in bizarrely. And then it's like, oh, Picard, you can do it now. What? So can you do this all the time? Can you only do it on this planet? What? Yeah, what's going on there?
That could have been cut out for sure.
And when they beam them all off onto the holodeck, do you not know what it feels like to be beamed? I suppose we can get away with that saying, oh, the sonar must have really good beaming technology that you don't even notice you're being beamed. The Picard Action Man stuff feels a little bit tagged on at the end, especially as, oh, you're not going to detonate the thing. Oh, I will. Like, you're not Rambo.
The worst thing is that they already tried that for one of the episodes, didn't they?
Did it? But that one worked. I liked the Die Hard episode, but this one, it just felt a bit, right, we're in the final act of the film, we need the captain to go and do some action stuff, and what I love about the character of Jean-Luc Picard is that he can win wars by sitting in a chair and talking to someone, and, you know, that's his strength. He doesn't need to do this. And then finally, give me Manuel, which I love it because it's hilarious, but it's so silly. The concept's silly. Using a prop joystick is just ridiculously silly. And the thing that makes it most ridiculous to me is the level of detail that to make the ship go forward, Riker has to pull the trigger. Like, you have to press the trigger in to make the ship go, do you? Like, what a load of rubbish. Apart from the fact that operating in a 3D medium, you couldn't do that with one stick. Anyway, I mean, come on, we've all played Halo. You know, you need 2 sticks to play a shooting game, never mind. Or at least a keyboard and a mouse. I'm not excluding PC gamers from this conversation, but yeah, the joystick is just, come on. Anyway.
So can I on this real quick? Just the joystick part. I play a lot of simulators. I love simulators. I do a lot of flight simulating and even space simulating. There's no physical way to fly a ship with a single joystick.
Yep.
You have to have a multi-directional joystick because there are so many different accesses that you have to control, and you cannot do it with that. And it frustrates me so much seeing that scene. It is the biggest con in all of Star Trek that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I cannot see that scene. I actually skip over it every time I watch this movie because it frustrates me so much.
Well, I mean, I got to agree with that because when you look at a normal flight simulator, you basically can rotate your plane on essentially 2 axes. But with a spaceship, you have to think 3-dimensional. So you have to be able to do it. I mean, I can't remember all the names, but like you move, you either go up, sort of, I say up and down. Like a plane can go on one axis, spin on one axis, and one on the other. But you have a ship can essentially flip on the other axis. I don't know what they're called, but it's like pitching and yawing and all that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, you can get joysticks that can do that. They specifically can twist, but that's not the and that's such
a way. Like at least the original series films, they were all about something, and even though like Star Trek V obviously completely went on its backside, but at least they were trying something. Whereas this just feels like a mid-season 2-parter, and it's like that's fine if there's 24 other episodes to watch, but there's not. Anywho,
okay. So going with that in that thought process, I love the fact
character motivations, but
and to add insult to injury, it just feels like it's weird. This is looking at where this is in history. Sisko's already kind of done his Pale Moonlight thing.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah.
And then, I mean, again, you wouldn't know that if you were just a casual fan going in. But I wonder how many fans he'd like DS9. It's like, Picard, I get that you're taking the moral stance here, but we're in a war.
But then how would this have impacted the war? Like, I can't imagine it
Well,
would.
it heals things, doesn't it? I mean, Geordie grew his eyes back, so maybe it would be used medicinally, but I suspect that Doughty was...
I imagine...
transport them to this planet and use the planet as a healing device instead of having to take this Metatronic radiation and artificially do their mumbo jumbo with it, and then I can inject you now, and you're healed.
Yeah, and could they not have just taken a bit of it?
That's something someone brought up. I think is the idea of, everything gets sorted out in the end, and the Baku get to share the planet with the Sona. But of course they're probably too late now because they
say get into the Baku planet. Yeah, it's a very good point. Dusty, have you got any more cons? Sorry, I keep saying cons. Apologies.
For all our warp cores. Seriously, if that's their only subspace weapon, then never mind. Just bad, bad. Just bad writing on that part.
Does it?
Could just cut it out. It was just about having that moment between Picard and that lady.
Like, that'd have been... Right, here you go. This is where you use it, right at the end, when it's like, we need to beam you off because 10 seconds later it'll explode and it'll thing. And you get Riker going, Captain, I'm sorry, we're not going to get to you in time. And he puts the thing in and he does his bougie power and everything slows down and they save him in time.
That would be a good plot device.
Yeah.
But they didn't use it at all.
No, I'd rather they just cut it out completely, but if you're going to use it...
Right? There's so many cringe stuff in that regard that just poor plot use. And then the whole movie has no consequences to it either way, other than it's a morality film. And is that worth doing an entire film over? I'm not sure that it is.
It's, like I said, it doesn't... If they wanted it to be this big morality play, it doesn't have the emotional heft that you would expect from that. So it doesn't hit the way they probably wanted it to. Alex, have you got any cons that we've not?
No.
No? Okay. Lainey?
It's just a silly one, really. So after Geordie's got his eyes back, then the captain's yacht loading up and Data's like, lock and load, which is awkward. Picard turns to Geordie and says, are we going to turn a blind eye to the suffering of the people you don't know?
Yeah.
And I was like,
Ash.
He literally done a second run of that script.
Yeah.
And thought,
You can imagine him down pub, though, after going, and then I said to him, are we going to turn a blind eye? You should have seen the look on his face. I do it all the time. I insult my staff and they don't even realise.
And I terminate them when they go offline.
Do you remember the time when I insulted Mr. Broccoli? That was a laugh.
Oh, yeah, that was
upset at the time, but thinking it's over, I should have just done stuff like that. Oh, constantly.
Bloody good jokes, bloody good jokes. And I once said to Data, I said, Data, for your next phone, are you getting an Android? But he didn't get it because that reference is 200 years old. And then I said to Worf, I said, are we going to turn a blind eye to the suffering of the Baku? And your wife got killed, Mr. Worf. I didn't even rope it into conversation naturally.
That hasn't happened
Is she
yet.
not dead yet?
Not quite, no.
I thought I read somewhere that this is supposed to be him getting away from Deep Space Nine because of Jadzia.
No, that made sense. Country, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, Generations, Final Frontier, and lastly, the motion picture. I'm going to start off. I would probably, because I enjoyed this a lot more this time. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I don't know. I'd put it below Generations, above Final Frontier, maybe.
See, I'd watch this over Generations.
Yep, because you see, there's bits of Final Frontier I like. There's bits I like the characters. Apart, I mean, I don't know though. I mean, almost in some ways, I kind of want to say that this is the Final Frontier of it. But you see, the problems with those two films are different. For me, the thing I hate about Final Frontier is the way that Shatner basically screwed over all the characters except him, McCoy, and
but that's.
I know that's very Shatnery, but
it's like, have you seen these?
I'm going to put it at the bottom. I can't help it. I hate it more.
He's fairly recently released this novel that's about an ex-FBI director who's in his late 80s. And he's clearly written this novel as like a pitch for a TV show for him to star in. You know, it's fantastic. Anyway, Alex, where would you put this one?
Well, pretty sure Voyage Home was first, then First Contact. But below those two. Like right below those two.
Right below those two, so quite high. Ooh,
yeah.
This is. We might have to put this as a vote on the council page if we can't agree. Dusty, where have you got it?
So, I know I'm the outlier on this. I actually really enjoyed the original motion picture.
Mm-hmm.
I actually enjoyed Generations. I would have to put this above Generations.
Above Generations.
Let's put your votes for above Generations.
This is going to get
yeah.
multi-directional.
So I think we've got.
In the same.
I think above Generations is probably looking like where we've got to put it, because we've got Lainey and Dusty roundabout there. I'm roundabout there, and then we've got Joe and Alex opposite ends. So I think it does fall pretty much slap bang in the middle. So I guess that's where
I think it's perfect because it's such a meh.
It is
film.
A meh film.
I guess. I mean, again, and it is. I suppose. I don't know what about it makes me hate it so much. I suppose that's my leftiness coming out here and being all explosive. I don't know. It just rubs me.
I've never thought about it as.
The movie is very whitewashed.
That's casting.
Definitely used some more depth to the characters. But I definitely agree with you. It definitely was whitewashed in this and needed more.
More.
More
non-white people.
I'd never thought of it in this much depth, but it's been nice to talk about it and dig into it a bit. And I'm surprised what twists and turns we went on with that one. So I never thought there was this much to say about this film, but there we go. So I guess that wraps us up then for Star Trek Insurrection, which means we have but one movie left to do.
Tom Hardy.
Does
Tom
it?
Hardy. Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
Tom
we
Hardy.
have.
I mean, we're probably going to have to do the Kelvin movies too.
Well, I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see what Jordan's plans are going forward. But certainly for the original run of movies, we have one left, which is Nemesis, which we will see you next time on.
Nemesis. Tom Hardy in leather.
Fair enough, if that's your thing.
Benedict will be here.
See,
I say Benedict is going to be here.
I'm looking forward to the Tom Hardy debate next time because I do not rate Tom Hardy.
Let's all have a mass debate about Tom Hardy.
No, not quite that much. But you see, I mean, there's worse actors out there. I thought Bane was all right.
Oh, Bane was good. Bane. Yes. Yes.
I did not like Bane. I hated that movie. Specifically because of the way he was characterized. I did not like it.
Oh, no, I get it.
You've hurt Bane's feelings.
Like Bane at all. But I thought if I could imagine him being a character that looks a lot like Bane, but isn't Bane, then I thought it was all right. I liked his mannerisms, what I'm saying.
Anyway, next time it'll be back playing Shinzon, not Bane. So we will see you next time.
There once was a ship put to the skies. The name of the ship was the Enterprise. Her nacelles lit, her phasers armed, oh blow, you red shirts blow. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Been not 2 weeks from Sector 1 when we were sacked by Romulans. Red alert was called, and Captain said, torpedoes make it so. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go. Before our foe had reached the hull, the shields were raised and power at full. Screen went dark, the Romulans gone when they engaged their cloak. Soon may the flagship come, bring us Earl Grey tea and Orion rum. One day when the scanning is done, engage and boldly go.